Hey everybody, welcome to the Mother Figures podcast. I'm Caitlin Darkangelo, founder and co-owner of Figure, Midwestern wife, and girl mom. I'm a dual certified pregnancy and postpartum trainer, majored in exercise science from the University of Michigan, earned my master in management degree from Duke University, and have been coaching in the fitness industry for over a decade. This podcast dives into all things pregnancy and postpartum fitness, especially in how to navigate strength and intensity training in these seasons. Whether you're in it yourself, trying to get pregnant, or coaching this population, you're in the right place. I'm excited to share personal experiences, client stories, guest interviews, and evidence-based strategies to give you the guidance, insights, and clarity needed to navigate these seasons with confidence. And with that, let's get rolling. Hello and welcome back to the Mother Figures podcast. Today I am going to do a kind of like personal episode of 3 weeks postpartum and all of the things that have been going on and around it. I'm going to start with the fitness related stuff because this is obviously a fitness based podcast. Just kind of what fitness has looked like, what workouts have looked like within the last 3 weeks, what body stuff has been happening fitness wise, and then I'm going to go into just like some mom related stuff, like some of the rules I've been trying to abide by in my postpartum experience, and just some things that I've been using, items, stuff like that can potentially be of help to you if you are going to be in the postpartum area soon or not, but just kind of a whole smorgasbord of just things of the first few weeks. So first, when it comes to the fitness related stuff, I wanted to preface this with, this is my personal experience. Yes, I am a trainer in this space and a professional in this space. And there's like different, I always want to make sure that I am defining what is my personal experience versus like what professionals and research and all this stuff says, because you can't just take my experience and say that this is going to happen for everybody. But it is also important to, I think, to hear other moms like real lived experiences on top of research and all of the things in the more educational space, because they both have value and they both have, good tips and things to pull out of. So this is all things that I've been experiencing, how I've been approaching things, and stuff like that. So going back all the way to day one, so like the first few hours after delivery, when we got into the postpartum room, it was probably, 12, 15 hours or so after delivery happened. I wanted to try a pelvic floor contraction, aka a Kegel. And I also wanted to try to see if I could already connect to my deep core, or if I could like engage my core muscles. And the reason why this feels, or like, it probably sounds so stupid, like obviously you can do a core engagement, or like obviously you can do a Kegel, but right after birth, when that pelvic floor is stretched to the max, it does undergo a, quote unquote stress injury or stretch injury. I guess both are the same or both are similar. And it's not to say that it wasn't meant to be. Like, birth is an injury to the pelvic floor. And then with the core, our bellies are no longer have anything inside of it pushing pressure up against it. Like, there's no baby in there anymore, essentially. And so those core muscles are super relaxed, or not relaxed, they're super stretched and thinned out. So the first piece of postpartum recovery is like, okay, can we even connect these systems right now? And I remember with Amelia, I was not able to do a pelvic floor contraction, or I wasn't able to feel anything when I like would put my mind to my pelvic floor and say, okay, contract. Like, I could not feel anything. But I was super excited because in the hospital bed, 12 to 15 hours or so after birth, I was able to do a pelvic floor contraction or feel one. And I was also able to engage my deep core muscles or feel that engagement physically. And so that was really exciting. And I think that goes to show too, for me personally, in my pregnancy with Amelia, that's when I first started getting into the pregnancy and postpartum field. So I did not dive deep into like breath work and core and all this stuff. I didn't start studying for my first certification until I was like 8 months pregnant, I want to say. So I did a little bit at the end, but I didn't really know much throughout all of pregnancy from the core and pelvic floor lens. And I think that played into not having as deep of a mental connection early on postpartum. Whereas this time around, I was full force into pelvic floor and core considerations during my pregnancy, followed my figure pregnancy program to a T every single day throughout my entire pregnancy from week 6 all the way to I delivered at 38 weeks. And then within 12 hours, I was already able to, like, that mental connection kind of stuck. And that was really cool and powerful and like made me feel really good about my pregnancy training that I was able to kind of keep that connection. Another piece that goes into this is I did not tear during my birth. I had a really smooth pushing phase. I only pushed for 5 minutes. I only had 2 to 3 pushes and she was out. So that also played into limited like stress or limited injury to that area, which allowed me to connect with it more quickly. So I'm not saying that like if you can't connect to your pelvic floor at 12 hours postpartum, that like you did anything wrong during pregnancy. This was just my lived experience. And I definitely noticed a difference between focusing on core and pelvic floor during my pregnancy, how effective my pushes were during my pushing phase, and how quick my pushing phase was, and relating that to even just a 30-minute push, which is what I had with Amelia. So it was just really cool to kind of feel that. So that was my first like workout. Was day 1. I tried one single pelvic floor contraction, one single deep core. They go hand in hand, but kind of tried like focusing on each piece separately. Right after I did that, I did feel like extra cramping, like uterus wise. Like the uterus is like just trying to go down to its normal size, starting like right after birth. And so doing a contraction kind of like spiked a little bit more cramping. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna do one for the day and be good. But that was my day 1. That was my first workout. Day 2 is when I walked out of the hospital room to the car. That was my first walk. From before then, I was just going from the bed to the bathroom and back, which was like 5 steps away. And so that was like the extent of my walking the first day. Second day, I actually got up and walked down the hall, down the stair, well, down the elevator, I guess, and out to the car. And then once I got home, I walked around the house a little, just like putting bags away or like just, going from the couch to the bedroom, or just like had longer distance in air quotes, versus in the little hospital room. And that felt like a good challenge. That was what my body was good to do that day. It was very slow walks. I remember in the hallway at the hospital, going from the hospital room down to the elevator, I was like, Anthony, slow down. Like, I can't keep up. And he was just, he had our diaper bag, he had our hospital bag, he had the car seat, and I was just like walking with nothing, just walking. I was like, you need to slow down because your core just like doesn't have that stability, and you don't realize how much your core is used in like every single thing, especially something like walking. So that was, and I was aware that this was going to happen because I remember it very specifically with Amelia, how like just waterbed-y my core felt. Again, it felt stronger this time around, but I still had to take even just that first walk slow. So that was day 2 of like what my workout or what fitness looked like that day. Day 3, I sat upright more often. So I sat in a chair versus like reclined in my bed or reclined on the couch. And just sitting upright requires a lot of core strength in this time period of like the posture muscles. So you can easily, and I still at 3 weeks, like have to like physically think about how I'm sitting. So I'm not slouching or like arching forward or arching back. Just sitting like really requires a lot of like core strength and coordination. So just sitting upright more often throughout the day, and then adding a little bit more to my walking. So like going up the stairs and going down the stairs, and just being more active instead of just laying down. Again, this is what felt good for me at this point in time. This is now day 3. Some people still like only want to lay in bed at this point. Again, it depends highly on labor and delivery circumstances and all this kind of stuff. But for me, this is what was feeling good on day 3. So just a little bit more upright sitting, a little bit more walking around. I think I did a little bit of housework, like washed my own dish after dinner or whatever. I don't know. But kind of stuff like that. And then day 4, I was again feeling really good. This is when I've had my first like outing. We went to Costco, and we walked around. It was probably like 20 minutes or so, and that felt like again a good challenge of just like being on my feet. Again, we walked slowly, obviously going through the aisles. You're kind of just gazing at the stuff anyway, so it was very like slow, easy walk. But the longevity or the duration of that walk was longer than what I had done. My first thing that I noticed was my hips and how clicky they were. So I could physically feel like the bony structure of my hips just like shifting with every step, because that was like the longest I had gone is walking. And so that was really funny to feel, because it was just like all loosey goosey. And then I also, after, when I got back into the car, like when we were kind of finishing up at the store, I could feel that my core wasn't as turned on, because my back started to get a little strained. It wasn't enough to like be painful, or like it went away right when I sat down essentially, but you can tell when your back kind of starts to take over for the lack of core strength and, having a core essentially in the front. And so that was kind of my limit there, was like that 20-minute-ish mark. Again, a little bit early maybe to go for that long, but again, that's what was feeling good for my body. On day 4, I also started my Figure Postpartum program. So I always advise moms when they ask me like, oh, like when are you supposed to start the program? I always tell them when you're able to walk for 5 minutes without assistance, or without extra bleeding, or without, feeling icky, that's when it's appropriate to start Figure Postpartum, because the first week it has 5-minute walks every day that could be around your house. So I didn't do a legit walk until week 2, I think. I counted my Costco walk as my 5 minutes. I counted doing housework and just being on my feet around the house for 5 minutes as my 5-minute walk. So like those things can count towards that. It's also 5 minutes of breath work. So starting to learn to reconnect to your deep core and pelvic floor system through breath. And then it's also stretch, mobility, and connection through very, very easy movement patterns. So think child's pose, or cat cows, or like seated pike folds, things that are getting our body out of this seated or laying position and allow our body to start to gain some more mobility and length back after we've been kind of like in this very hunched or like, lethargic kind of position, just a sack of potatoes essentially. We're just getting the body to get back into fluidity before we get into our strength stuff. So that's all the stuff that starts in week 1, and it lasts now until week 1, 2, and 3 are all of this, and it progresses the stretch and mobility piece of it a little bit, and then it adds a little bit of time or duration to the walks, and then it adds a little bit of difficulty to the breath, or not difficulty, but different positions that you do the breath work in. So starting on day 4 with my Figure Postpartum program felt like a very good time frame for me. Again, it's going to depend on if you had a C-section. Maybe you start once your scar pain starts going down around like 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe you have no mental capacity to even add anything else to your plate, and you don't start this until like, month 1 or month 2. It's going to be different for everybody. But for those who are eager to get back into stuff and you're feeling good and you can walk for 5 minutes and you want to start stretching and connecting with your breath, in that first week is kind of when I would recommend, or when I programmed the Figure Postpartum to be started, because there is no, I don't want to say no, but there is very little guidance of what to do prior to that 6-week checkup. I can go into hours and hours of why I hate this 6-week time frame. It is actually not even research backed anymore. There's a guideline that just came out this past year, not recommending that you wait till 6 weeks to start your return to fitness. And so I'm so happy that there's finally concrete research that says this. But that's why I structured Figure Postpartum the way I did over 4 years ago, because there was no guidance prior to the 6 weeks, and it's all a ramp or a buildup or a progression. It's not oh, at 6 weeks you start working out. No, that's why I said on day one, my workout was a pelvic floor contraction, because that is what my body is feeling challenged with. That is what my body is considering a workout at that point in time. And then each day, I'm just adding a little bit of things, whether it be activities of daily living or a little bit of duration to my walks or whatever it is. I'm slowly adding in more things that are appropriate for my body each day. And that is what I am defining as my workout each day. So it's not like I had somebody ask me the other day, like, oh, like, are you already starting to work out again? I was like, well, yes, but it depends on your definition of workout, because I'm not just like going into the gym and hitting my normal workouts. I am starting my recovery process, which to me and to my body right now in its state of recovery is what a workout is. So defining what the definition of workout is going to be one of the most important pieces of postpartum recovery for you or for your clients or whoever, because it's just like that mental mindset shift. Like, we have to start thinking of it as a progression instead of like nothing and then I work out one day. Like, that's not what it is. I am currently working out, but it does not look like my normal workouts. I'm in that recovery process. So that was all day 4. And then after that, like, it kind of just progresses onto there. I guess this is a good lead in. I started sitting on the ground more, for instance, instead of like when I was playing with my 4-year-old toddler, instead of, laying on the couch with my newborn, I'll be on the floor, like doing a wide seated fold or going into a butterfly stretch or just like moving around more on the ground, because you don't realize how much core work that also requires. Like going from seated to like all fours, or like sitting up and standing down, like those little things, you'll be surprised postpartum, like actually require a lot of core coordination. I've also been doing, or I also started doing more housework. So like carrying laundry baskets or, cleaning up the whole kitchen at one point or at one time, instead of like just doing one single dish, making the bed, things that like you don't think about when you're not postpartum. But when you are postpartum, these things definitely have some strength components to it. Even as someone like who loves to lift heavy weights, like my goal this year, one of my goals is to hit a 300-pound deadlift. Like, to say that carrying a laundry basket or doing 10 minutes of like dishes, like hovering over the sink, is a workout, like it sounds so stupid, but it's just the reality. And I want to give you guys the reality side of things. So regardless of how strong you are, how strong you want to be, like, this stuff should be considered a workout in these early days. Another thing that I was very mentally aware of in this first week, again, I'm 3 weeks postpartum right now, or almost 3 weeks, was that the main movement pattern I was doing on a daily basis was essentially a weighted sit-up. So leaning back in a chair and feeding your baby, and then going from that position to then sitting upright, requires you to know how to engage your core to do that sit-up piece. Even though it's not a full sit-up, it's not going from the ground to like an upright position like a normal sit-up would be. You're just going from like a half reclined to upright. That was hard. That was very hard. And I know how to properly exhale, engage my deep core, and then come up into that full sit-up. But the thing is that it is so like looked down upon during pregnancy to train core flexion. And it's, I think, more so, even more frowned upon to do sit-ups postpartum, because especially like with diastasis recti, like if you have diastasis, do not do sit-ups. But we cannot avoid it, because it's literally what we're doing in our everyday life with our baby in our arms. So we're adding weight to a movement pattern that we're trying to be like shunned away from throughout all of pregnancy and postpartum. And that just is not serving anybody. So during pregnancy, I think one of the biggest pieces is to learn how to still like do the breath timing piece. So if you are in a crunch, let's say you're laying on the ground, you're going to do a big inhale, expand, belly expands, exhale, pelvic floor lifts, deep core contracts, and then we're lifting our either head up, our shoulders up, or going into a full sit-up, depending on what phase of pregnancy you're in. Like maybe you can still do a full sit-up in the first trimester. Maybe we're just doing head lifts in the third trimester. But training that movement pattern and the breath timing with it and the core contraction with it is going to pay off huge when you get into this early postpartum phase, because now you can at least know how to time things out contraction wise and breath timing wise, so that we can hopefully not add to problems. But we don't want to not know how to do that and then have to be doing this movement pattern all day long with a baby. And then maybe that's putting extra pressure down that midline, which is then not allowing our core to heal at a proper rate. Versus if you do know how to do it properly, that's actually adding a little bit of challenge to your core, which is probably going to help with quicker healing and allows you to get back into flexion work quicker. So that was kind of very eye-opening to me, or like kind of made me pissed in a way of like, why are we shying away from core flexion or from sit-up based movements when that's literally what a new mom is doing multiple times a day, all day long with a baby in their arms. So training flexion is going to be huge during pregnancy to help you with that early first week. And so I feel like very happy that I was also training that during pregnancy, like doing head lifts and just trying to stay connected in that flexion, not doing full sit-ups. There's a lot of belly in there that doesn't really allow you to do a full sit-up. But that's just one piece I wanted to throw in there. Going back to activities of daily, this is just kind of all side notes too within like that first week through now, just points of, topics that I wanted to bring up here. But first is that activities of daily living are a workout. Like think of them as a workout. So laundry, dishes, I can feel when my core is engaged versus when my core is not engaged. I can tell because my back will start to get tense and I'll have to sit down for a little bit, let my back relax, and then I'll have to go back up. I can also feel when I kind of like shorten myself, or like when I kind of slump, versus when I try to elongate my spine and kind of like pull from like an invisible string at the top of my head to like make myself long. Like that's been something that I've been having to intentionally focus on, is like staying tall versus letting myself like kind of fall down. Also from a breastfeeding side of things, or just like milk coming in, like your boobs get so heavy and awful. And I feel like that like pulls me down naturally too. And so I have to remember to kind of stay upright because of the extra weight on the front, in addition to my core not being as strong as it normally is. So that posture and that core stacking is still like a conscious thing that I have to focus on. And that is a priority of mine in my everyday life, to hopefully help me, stay more upright. Then the first 2 weeks as well, the first 3 weeks, I've been using bleeding as an indicator of how much to do, because my body feels so good. My mind feels so eager to get into harder stuff. And I'm just like ready to push it, ready to go. So the first 2 weeks, I use bleeding as like an indicator. So if there was any increase in volume or increase in the brightness of color, that would be an indication that my internal body is not healed enough for whatever demand I just put on it. So there was one day, for instance, that I did like 10 minutes of laundry. I was just standing up, folding laundry, blah, 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 blah. And then I went to the bathroom and I was like bleeding more than I was prior to. And that was my indication that, okay, my body's at its threshold. It's nothing to fear or nothing to like be worried about, or like medically there's nothing wrong with it. I just laid around the rest of the day, let my body relax. And then the next day it kind of went down again. And that was my indicator that like that was too much volume at that point in time. I remember with Amelia, I started way too early with things. Like I think I picked up weights. I remember filming a barbell deadlift, really light, but again, I felt physically ready for it at like 2 or 3 weeks postpartum. And then I remember like slowly doing some weighted stuff throughout the first few weeks. And then I remember it was around New Year's Eve, which would have been 4 or 5 weeks postpartum with Amelia. I had a big increase in bleeding around that time. I forget what sparked it, some kind of workout movement. And I ended up taking like 5 days off because my body, like, cause I was like, oh my gosh, like still really healing at this point in time. So 4 to 5 weeks, like, was kind of far along. And then I ended up not stopping completely my bleeding until around week 7 or 8 with Amelia. And that was because I was kind of pushing my boundaries, like kind of seeing what my body was ready for or not. And I didn't really take this early 3 or 4 week phase to really let myself recover. Versus this time around, I already have stopped bleeding I'll be 3 weeks in 2 days from now. So around that 2.5 week mark. And I think that's because I've taken this rest phase so much more seriously. Even though my body and my mind really want to push in the gym, I've allowed myself to really take this time to recover and rest and prioritize that over getting back into the gym. And I think that's going to pay off huge in this next phase, this next like 4 to 6 weeks or so, because I'm not going to have to do what I did with Amelia and take like a week off because I was like pushing myself way too hard, had to scale back and revert back. And I feel like this is going to be a much smoother progression already this time because I'm a little bit smarter with my training. In addition to the programming of Figure Postpartum, so again, in the first 3 weeks, there's breath work, there's stretch and mobility and connection, and then there's walking. And they're all 3 different pieces of the workouts or of the day, so you don't have to do them all back to back to back. They're all 5 to 10 minute segments, so I kind of like do them throughout the day, which I've been loving. Because I feel so mentally and physically ready to do more, instead of skipping ahead in the program, because I really want to take this progression very slowly and very methodically and structured. Instead of skipping ahead because I feel good, what I'm doing instead is I'm adding in little bits of other things that can give me that same stimulus. So what I mean is, one, I've been doing saunas. I've probably gone to the sauna 2 or 3 times now, just so I can get a good sweat in. And that has felt really good. I feel my body like getting fluid with stuff again. And then I also added in a 10-minute bike, a slow like echo bike, just to get my body moving, and then like a slow Stairmaster on top of the walks. And I really, really love that because one of my goals this year also is to do a Hyrax with my husband, doing a doubles. And so I want to get into more cardio stuff. I am not a cardio person. So this is kind of aligns with my goals as well, to like add in more cardio versus jumping faster into the weighted stuff. And these are not more intense than walks to me. So it's kind of just adding on extra endurance time, essentially. It's just getting my body in different, movement patterns. So the echo bike I really like because it also includes the upper body. I get a little bit of rotation through the upper back and shoulders that has been loosening up things because of, breastfeeding and holding a baby all the time. You're always slouched forward. So that feels really good. And then Stairmaster, I've already been able to do like walk up and down stairs really easily. So doing 10 minutes at a really slow pace of the Stairmaster felt really good and allowed my heart rate to get up, which is really cool and feels really good, but doesn't push my body beyond its current limits right now. Both of those did not spike any increase in bleeding, either during, right after, or within 24 hours after. So that's kind of the time frame that I'm looking for that increase after a new activity is added to my day. And so that was a good sign. And so now what I'm going to be doing this week, I have 15-minute walks and then a little bit more challenging mobility movements and body weight stuff. And then my goal is to add for 2 or 3 of the days in a bike or a Stairmaster on top of that. So this is my last week of this kind of prep work. Weeks 1 through 3, again, of the Figure Postpartum program are in this body prep. Then week 4 through 6 gets into foundational movement patterns. So like body weight squats and, just easy stuff that's kind of going to be the building or the framework for functional movement going forward. So I'm really excited to get into that. These 3 weeks, the workouts haven't been hard at all. They've felt very appropriate considering everything outside of the gym too. And this is a big piece of your return or somebody's return to postpartum exercise, is like what's going on outside of fitness. So sleep is the biggest one. She has not been sleeping great in the last few days. She slept really good the first week or 2. And then the past few days, she just is up she's super gargly. Like that's a whole nother topic, but sleep in general. Sleep is hard to come by in these early days, and that is going to play in huge into your energy levels during the day and your mental and, how on top of things you want to be. Also other kids at home. So I'm lucky that I have a 4-year age gap. So my oldest goes to preschool 3 days a week. And so I have a little bit of break time from that, but that's a lot of energy around the house that is new, just like being a mom of two versus a mom of one. A new routine, there's breastfeeding, there's nutrition aspects to it. There's so many other things outside of a mom's workout schedule that is going to play into their recovery. And so it's not just like you and what you want to do anymore. It's like, okay, you also have all these other variables and factors. There's also things like, postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression and all these like mood disorders that come along with postpartum sometimes too. And so those are things that you as a person or you as a trainer should always be aware of, like the things outside the gym that are impacting the speed of progression or the speed of progress really that a mom is making, or like how early they get back into things. So I just wanted to throw that in there because it's a big piece of the puzzle. Like even 2 days ago, I had such a bad sleep, and the whole day I did not feel like doing anything that I even skipped one of my own workouts where I'm going through it right now to make sure everything is like inputted properly in addition to actually doing the program. So even me as the trainer, as the person who programmed this, I have my days that it feels hard to even get 20 minutes of movement in. So that's a big piece of the puzzle. And then lastly, in terms of the fitness stuff, I'm really happy with how well my pregnancy training set me up for feeling this good early on postpartum. I think I know it also helped with labor as well. However, I'm not going to tell you that like doing my pregnancy program will equal my same labor outcome, because that's impossible to say. There's a lot of ways that we are stacking the deck in your favor with pregnancy programming for labor. But when it comes to postpartum, that is where I'm a little bit more confident in saying that your pregnancy training really does help set you up for a smoother postpartum recovery. And it's even more so important to stay consistent through that last few weeks of your third trimester. That's when it gets tough to stay consistent for most people, because you're just, large and in charge, and it's harder to do things and energy wise and all this stuff. But it is such a big payoff in thinking of pregnancy training as a way to prep your body for a smoother postpartum recovery. That's really what it's all about, because postpartum or pregnancy is only, 9-10 months, but postpartum takes a lot longer than that. And especially like if you have multiple kids, like we want to be making sure that we are on top of our recovery as best as possible. And pregnancy training can totally set you up for that. And that is something that I'm more confident in saying that like my pregnancy program or whatever pregnancy program you choose to do can absolutely help with your postpartum recovery if we can stay consistent through the end. So really, really proud and thankful for, staying on top of my stuff during pregnancy, because it is definitely paying off now. So that was like kind of my fitness stuff for the first 3 weeks. I have 2 more sections. One is just like mom to mom stuff, like just things I wanted to throw in there that probably that don't have anything to do with fitness. And then last one is like the baby or mom items that I'm most using, just as a little like, I don't know if anybody else has the same items that they like or whatever. But in terms of mom to mom things, not fitness related, I guess this one is a little bit fitness related. But I wish I would have waited one more day to start figure postpartum, because my milk came in that next day. And that is one of the worst days of postpartum, in my opinion, because it is so much pain to me. And it's just like I just hate it so much. I remember with Amelia very vividly too. But starting until after like my boobs and milk like regulated would have been great, because there's some stretches like thoracic rotations and stuff in the programming that like did not feel comfortable because of just how stiff my boobs felt for that like first day or two. So just waiting until your milk comes in might be a better idea. So later in that first week versus earlier, just something that I had thought of after the fact. Um, in terms of like feeding, like breastfeeding, I started reading like a motivational book during my feeds, and that has made me feel way better. Like it first makes breastfeeding kind of go by faster, which is good because you're doing it all day long. But also it gives me the feeling like I'm still improving or bettering myself in whether it's fitness or business or lifestyle or career, whatever it is. Just one way that I feel like I'm moving forward, even though I'm like in this like early, maternity leave phase. It just like makes me feel really good. So I've liked doing that. um, I also feel like this has nothing to do with this one, but I really hate pads. They're like my nemesis. And this week, not having to wear them and being able to wear normal underwear is like the normalcy that I needed. And I didn't realize how much they were making me feel like I was still so like lacking in my feeling like myself. So if you are in the same boat, maybe it's just when you get into normal underwear again and you can feel great. Maybe we're the same person in that regard. So if that's something that you guys hate as well, that could be something that when it does come, when the bleeding stops, like maybe that's like your like hallelujah sign. So another thing I've been doing is during my nighttime breastfeeding sessions, I prep a element. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on whether you say the acronym or the word. The hydration sticks, whatever. This is so stupid because I've been drinking these for years. I prep one of those and put it on my bedside, and after each time I feed Vienna, I'll drink that. Not only does it taste really good in the middle of the night, and it just is like a nice refresher, I think that's helping me stay on top of my hydration, because we all know how much breastfeeding can pull all of our nutrients and all the things. So that has been really helpful. Treating everything as a win instead of seeing it as like, oh, it's the bare minimum of what I've done. So little things that I've been counting as like wins are brushing my teeth, making a cup of tea, taking a nap, showering, washing my dishes, washing my face in the morning, putting on lotion, listening to music, putting on Alexa when I'm, doing the dishes or housework, picking up hobbies. So like playing the piano more often, doing a puzzle, reading, even things like lighting a candle or like having some kind of aroma scent around. Like those little things I've been treating as wins instead of like what my bare minimum should be. Like my bare minimum of a normal day should be like I should be brushing my teeth. Like that's a normal human thing. But postpartum, I'm seeing that as a win because it's like one more thing of my self-care routine that's adding to me feeling good. So thinking like kind of flipping the script on that and thinking of things as every little thing that you do is a positive versus everything that you do is like only a bare minimum thing that can have a big mental impact. Another thing that's been saving us is our meal train. So I didn't have, but my sister-in-law set up a meal train for me, which was amazing. And so it's like if you've never heard of it, different people can sign up for bringing you meals throughout the week. And so we've had a lot of amazing meals brought to us. A lot of them are like bulk meals. So there's been a lot of leftovers. So I haven't had to cook lunches and stuff like that too. And this comes into this comes into the nutrition side of things within the first 3 weeks. And that is that my priority has been just to eat whatever it is. I don't care, whatever is easiest access. Like, yes, I've been prioritizing protein where I can, but I have not really started to think about weight loss. I haven't started to think about, wrapping my nutrition in quite yet. I'm simply focusing on kind of surviving a little bit here, like just like eating whatever is available to me, whatever is easiest. And that has been really great. Even like the heavy stuff, like we've had lasagna, 2 people brought us lasagna, like big sheets of it. And so that was my lunch for like every day the first week postpartum. And instead of like being like, oh, this is like super heavy, or like this is not calorie appropriate or whatever, I was thinking of it as, wow, this is a great win because I don't have to cook. I don't have to spend extra energy on a meal. I have this ready for me. This is fueling my body. Like my body just needs stuff in it right now. And so that's been, from a nutrition standpoint, really great to have that meal train, because that's been making my nutrition of just eating a really much easier goal. And then lastly are my 2 rules, and I posted this on Instagram the other day for postpartum. My first rule is to never decline help. So I had a sister-in-law ask me if she wanted to do my dishes the other day, and I said, absolutely, that sounds great. Or she took her the other day took Amelia to play with her cousins the other day. My other sister-in-law took Amelia to the movies one day. Like normally I would be like, oh, don't worry about it. Like I feel bad. Like, whatever. But not feeling bad about allowing other people to give you help, whether that's in assisting with housework or toddlers or food or whatever it is. Like just allow yourself to accept help. And that's hard for me. It's always been hard for me, but doing it this time around has been a huge breath of fresh air. And then my second rule is just doing what you want to do in the moment and not what you feel like you should be doing. So this is the story of my life, is I always do what I should be doing, whether it's like during work hours, I should be working, at nighttime, I should be cleaning it, like all these things. But now postpartum, one of my goals for maternity leave was just to have it be an enjoyable time, because last time it was very stressful. I was doing way too much. This time I've been doing exactly what I want to do in the moment. And I feel like this is like the best time of my life. That little rule itself has made such a big difference. And as somebody who's like just a go-getter and needs to get things done and loves making progress on goals and all this stuff, like just doing what I want to do. So like waking up and being like, oh, I feel like playing the piano right now. Okay, I'm going to go play the piano, versus like, no, I should clean this and then I should, get this thing off my to-do list. Like that has been really enlightening for me. And I think it's a rule that I'm going to start using in my non-maternity leave days when that comes, because it has been so great to just, allow myself to do what I want to do, which has been really cool. So those are just some mom to mom things. And then just a last note of some of the mom items, baby items that I've been using the most often in these first 3 weeks. One is the Trip Trap high chair newborn attachment. So that's in the kitchen. It normally is a high chair, but there's a newborn piece to it that is like kind of a bed. So anytime we're in the kitchen, I just plop her on that, and that makes it really easy, hands-free, because we're in the kitchen so often. And we have an open concept house. So if we're in the living room or the kitchen, she just kind of can chill there while people are milling around. 2 is a DockATot. And that is my favorite thing. Again, it's kind of like it's literally like where you dock a tot, like where you put your baby inside of it. It's like a little pillow thing, and then you can put that on the couch, on the bed, on the floor. Again, just another comfy way for her to just like stay contained in a little area. Love that. Zomee, it's called Zomee, and these are the portable breast pumps that I got. I had never heard of anybody who used them, but they were free with my insurance and they were portable, and that was one of the things I really wanted, was a hands-free option. And so I was like, okay, these look cool, like I'll try them. And they have been so good. I haven't even used my normal Medela breast pumps, like the plug-in ones, because these ones are so powerful. Like they're the same, they feel like the same suction as my normal ones, and they're portable, so they're really easy to like do stuff with. And last time I was not on top of pumping enough, and we're such an on-the-go family that I just didn't have, I'm a very normal producer. I don't overproduce or underproduce. I just kind of produce exactly what the baby needs. So having the portable ones, I feel like I've been already able to pump more milk for on reserve, and that's already giving me a lot of like stress relief of when we do start giving her more bottles, I'll have enough for when we're on the go and that stuff. So that has been huge. And then 2 other pumping related things. The Haka, I think a lot of moms already know what that is. But it's like a milk collector as you're breastfeeding. So that has been great. I've been adding that to my pumped milk so we don't waste any milk, because we know we don't want to waste none of this gold. And then I also got a little tub for the sink for pump part cleaning, because that was another piece of the first time around that I hated pumping because of how annoying it was to clean the stuff. So it was on Amazon. I'll have to find the link and the name for it. But you literally put it in the sink, and it has like a thing at the bottom where it can drain, a drain, I guess. So you spin it to drain it, spin it to like lock it. You fill it up with water, you put all your pump parts in it, and I literally just let the pump parts sit in there for however many hours it is until I go back into the bathroom. Then you just like drain it, and then I put the pump pieces on that little like it looks like grass. It's like those little plastic green pokey things, like the drying rack. And then so I don't even have to like spend any time cleaning, because then I just let them air dry, and that has saved so much time and annoyance factor. So I'm just pretty much just finding as many things as I can to make things more doable and easy and stress-free on a normal basis. And that is one of them that pissed me off the first time around. And so pumping has been way more enjoyable because of those three things. So that is all my notes that I've been taking over the last 3 weeks. I'm really excited again to keep bringing you guys along with this postpartum journey, because again, pregnancy training is really fun, really awesome, but postpartum is really where I feel like the most help is needed and the most inconsistent advice is given, all the stuff, and it's obviously the more lengthy timeline as well. So postpartum is crazy, but it's really fun as a trainer to help moms navigate through it. So I next plan to do, I have a few other episode ideas between now and then, but the weeks 1 through 3 kind of align with my Figure Postpartum program, weeks 1 through 3, the structure of those. And then weeks 4 through 6 is the next kind of like phase of the programming. So I plan to do a similar one of these at around that 6-week time point, to kind of give an update on fitness, or what to expect from fitness within the first 4 to 6 weeks of having a baby. So as always, feel free to ask questions or email me, message me on Instagram with any topics for podcasts that you guys want as well, especially when it comes to postpartum, being in it right now. Would love to answer those for you guys and kind of make these episodes really for you, so you can make sure that you guys are navigating all the things as easily as possible. So with that, I will see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Mother Figures podcast. If these episodes help or resonate with you in any way, it would be so helpful to the show if you could leave a review so we can get this into more moms' hands. And if you're looking for even more guidance and direction when it comes to pregnancy and postpartum fitness, I got you covered. My Mother Figures app subscription includes my Figure Pregnancy and Figure Postpartum workout programs, in addition to our general fitness programs. You'll get the day-by-day workouts you need to help you feel strong, pain-free, and labor-ready during pregnancy, and also the recovery, strength, and progressions you'll need to get back to the activities you love, full of strength and without symptoms after baby arrives. If you're local to the Brighton, Michigan area, I also host daily women's functional fitness classes, a 6-week postpartum return to fitness course, and pregnancy and postpartum consultation sessions. For those who are providers, coaches, or practitioners in the space, I hold a live Mother Figures certification course that equips you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to train and work with this population. For information on all of these services and programs, make sure to check out fitisgettingreal.com/moms or head to the show notes for the direct link. I'm so thankful that you tuned in to today's episode, and I will catch you next time.